G'day and welcome back to another episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups. On this episode, we're going to get onto the YFM225 quad bike. We're going to start stripping it so we can start rebuilding the engine. Now before we start, this episode is proudly brought to you by Penrith Tyres Automotive, Sinclair Hyundai and Fit Dad Fuel. If you haven't already checked them out, jump on their website and check out the link in the description below as for a discount code as well. So I downloaded an e-manual for this bike, which made it really convenient to be able to access all the material that I need and not have to buy a 400-page book that cost me an arm and a leg. So it claims that it is quite simple to pull the engine out. Essentially, we're going to remove the front and rear guards, the tank, the seats, the seat pad, the carburetor, some wiring, the exhaust, a couple other bolts on the swing arms, and then it should come out. So this is going to go one of two ways. One, it'll be as easy as it says, or two, it'll be an absolute pain in the ass. So let's get to it and find out how hard it is. Alright, so now we have the covers off it. It's starting to look like a bit of a shell now, which is really good. It's going to make everything a lot easier to get to. As you can probably see, it is kneeling down to the left-hand front of the bike. So it could be the suspension has collapsed or simply just a low tire pressure. So this will be something we'll look into in the future. Let's continue on. Let's remove the fuel tank. We're going to remove the exhaust, the bolts on the rear swing arm, the rear brake cable, and anything else that needs to be detached before we start taking the engine out. Welcome back to day 2 of pulling apart the YFM225 quad bike. So as you can see, we had a pretty good night last night. So I've removed the guards off there, we've removed the seat, we've pulled back this back pannier, found a bit of an access panel down here which was not fitted, but we're going to be fitting that when we reassemble it, only because, well, why not? And it's always good to carry extra tools. Now, as you can see down here, the battery box is pretty much non-existent, so we're going to be fabricating a new one and doing a heap of wiring as well, because all this stuff is pretty dodgy. There's loose connections everywhere, there's loose wires. That's just absolutely ridiculous. So this starter solenoid, so we'll run some new wires from there all up to here. We'll run a good new earth as well. I looked a little bit closer into the tyres. They are quite cracked. I think you can see it a little bit better on this one. Hopefully the camera's pretty good. But yeah, you can see all the way around here. So aging causes cracks, or cracks causes aging, whichever way you put it. So even if it is a road tyre, you want to make sure that a tyre generally lasts between 5 to 10 years. So on the side of the tyre, it'll show a manufacturing date. It'll say 2 numbers followed by 2 numbers. The first 2 numbers are the weeks of that year. The second lot of numbers is the year. So if it's 1/8/20, it is the 18th week of 2020 that it was manufactured. So considering this is just a farm vehicle, we will be putting a new set of tyres on it. So what we need to do now is finish removing the exhaust. That is all loose down here. We just need to remove it from the back of the exhaust port. We need to remove a heap of bolts that hold the engine into the subframe. I think this rear brake cable as well, that needs to come off. Along with that, there is a couple of things on this side. I think we need to remove the rear swing arm connection to the gearbox. So something along here, I imagine we probably just take out and leave the diff in there, so that would be fine. Other than that, and it being super dirty, she's looking pretty good. We are going to get new shocks as well, so they don't sell these brand new, but we have a supplier that we use through work that can measure up shocks. So essentially you're going to measure the open and closed length, and then they'll just get something to match it. So probably even put a new set of springs on there. And it looks to be adjustable as well. So hopefully we can get some adjustable ones. That'll be great. My parents will certainly appreciate that. So let's get back to it and get this engine out. Well, there we have it. The engine is out. It was significantly easier than removing a mini engine, obviously because of how big this frame is. There was a heap of bolts down below I had to get out, which you probably saw me do. A couple of brackets, but it came out pretty easily, and it is quite light as well in comparison to a mini engine. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the tabber cover. We'll probably need to remove the timing chain, which I think is on this side. We're going to remove the cylinder head and the bore itself, pull it out, and then we can inspect it and see how we're going to go from there. Chances are though, we will need to send the head away to get machined and probably even checked as well. I do have all the specs, so I might just go through the specs and just show you guys what sort of thing people are looking for when you send a cylinder head off for a cylinder head service. It's likely just the valve stem seal, but could be the guides, could even be the valves as well. So we just got to cross that bridge when we come to it. So let's keep disassembling and see what else we find.